Okay, I want to say, first of all, welcome to everyone that's joining us today for this really important and hopefully you'll find helpful webinar that's going to help guide you through these, very unusual times. So just want to start by thanking everyone that's joining us. Thank you. I know you're probably at home with pets and spouses and kids, so no worries if it gets a little hectic. My own dog is here. If you hear him barking, that's because there's a skateboarder down the street. But he's really a nice dog. So anyway, today's webinar is just going to be getting started with CodeMonkey and giving you all the confidence to sort of set up your classroom and hit the ground running during this unusual remote learning time that we find ourselves in. Okay. Before we move on too far, I want to point out that if you can, follow us, please, across all of our social media channels at CodeMonkeySTU. There's our Twitter handle. We also have our Instagram and Facebook, as well as our blog, which you can follow us on. My name is Mark Dozier. I work at CodeMonkey with customer success and support. I've been with the company for about 7 months or so. Joining me today as panelists, we also have Talia, who's our head of customer success, and Zoe, who's our marketing manager. They're both joining us from Israel. They're also here today to help us with some of your questions that may come up. So if you have any questions and you'd like to drop them in our chat box, they'll be more than happy to help you. Okay, so during today's webinar, we're going to be looking at what is CodeMonkey all about. We'll walk you through the teacher's homepage. We'll talk about how to give your students access, how to add co-teachers. We'll show you how to create a new classroom, or if you already have a classroom, even if it's from a trial. We'll show you how to upgrade to an existing one. Then we'll talk about how to follow your students' progress. We'll get into the two approaches that you may be finding yourself dealing with, whether that's self-paced or administering CodeMonkey in a structured way. I'll show you some of the teacher resources. And then of course, at the end, we'll save some time for Q&A. All right, so what is CodeMonkey? As you can see there, it's made with teachers, schools and teachers in mind. I taught myself for 15 years. I was a technology director, and I used CodeMonkey those last 2 years. So that's the part that I appreciated the most. You'll see that it's standards aligned, so that's the part that a lot of stakeholders will appreciate the most. And then as a teacher, you'll see here that there's no prior coding experience needed to teach. So perhaps that's what you take away from the most as well. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. All right, you got the subscription, and where do we begin? So after logging in, you'll notice to the left side here, you'll see this main menu where you can navigate between the courses. There's some teacher resources. There's a classroom dashboard. I'm going to start with our courses real briefly here. So this courses page, this is where you as a teacher can access the courses themselves. You can also think of this as your personal page. So there's no need to set up a separate demo account or teacher account from your classroom. This is automatically done when your subscription is created. We usually recommend that teachers also play the course. And unlike your students, you are able to skip between the challenges. Now in tomorrow's webinar, what we'll do is we'll review all the available courses and which age level each is suited for. But today, we'll just sort of show you that where to find them and that they are available for you. Oh, by the way, all of the courses do have lesson plans, and I will show you where to locate those at the end of the webinar. All right, so for those of you that are new to CodeMonkey, the first thing you want to do is create a classroom. So from that left side panel there, upper left side, I clicked on My Classrooms. And you see here I already have a demo class of class number 1. Once you create these student accounts as part of the classroom, then your students are able to join and play. Now you can either create a new classroom, which is underneath here, just click on the button, give my classroom a name like period 3, then I can create that classroom, or perhaps I already have a CodeMonkey classroom set up. And what I could do, in this case, I have a trial, but my teacher trial, is limited in a number of seats and courses. What I could do is upgrade an existing trial by coming over here to the actions part. And there's an upward arrow called upgrade subscription. I click on that. It's going to show me the students that are going to move with the subscription. In this case, I want all 4 of my students to move. Click on continue. And then I need to choose the subscription that I want to upgrade to. And again, for the purposes of this demo, I only have one other subscription, and that is the COVID-19 remote learning. So we'll click on that. Then I will click on upgrade. And just to make sure that I'm sure that I'm sure that I'm sure, I will click on confirm upgrade. And so now you see, perhaps you notice that this changed from teacher trial to the remote learning subscription that we're talking about today. All right, so I'm going to click on the class 1 that I have, and this will be what we refer to as our classroom dashboard. And you'll notice there's 6 tabs up top, but to really get started, we need to focus on the students tab. And this is where I can manage the student list. So currently I have, looks like I have 4 students enrolled in this class. And I'm going to walk you guys through the steps to adding additional students, or if you're creating it from scratch, of course, just adding students at all. So what I'll do here is underneath that last student on the roster, click on the Add Students button. And here you see I have 3 ways I could do it. Create a single account. So this would be something that I would do if I was working with a small group of students, 4, 5, 6, 7. In that case, I could create a username and password, send that information on to the parents or the students. Another option would be the bulk upload of students. So this is where I would create a CSV file with a larger list of students. And again, I would need to share those passwords with the parents or the students. And then this third option here, this share the class code, given the situation that you guys are in with the remote learning, this might be the most optimal way of having the students join the classroom that you create. So I'll show you that. Okay, so here in the box here, I see my class code as 2F7HE. And so this is the code that I would share with students and then have them input this code to join my classroom. So what I'll do now is I'll actually demo what it looks like from the student point of view. Okay, so the kids will come to CodeMonkey.com. They're going to click on Sign Up Now. Who are you? Well, I'm a student. Do you have a classroom code? Yes, my teacher just shared it with me. And this is where I enter that code. I know I don't have a super awesome memory. I just have it written down somewhere else, 2F7HE. And then I click on Next. Okay, so this is a point where the student's going to need to create a username and a password. Again, this might be where you want to guide those parents to help the younger students do that. I believe we will share a document with you that sort of is geared toward parents that you could provide to the parents. Look for that in our chat box. But in this case, I'm just going to make myself a username, Mark101, super secret password. Probably didn't type it in right. And at this point, I'll go ahead and click on sign up. Now you see here, I can download a copy of this information, which I can have to refer to later, which is very important considering my teacher won't be around to help me remember my password. So I'll go ahead and click on Let's Play. And then as a student, you can choose your avatar and then join the classroom that you're, basically I'm already a part of that classroom, but now I can just join it, click an avatar, save it, and then get started on whatever my teacher has assigned for me. Speaking of, we're gonna head back. So we've got the classroom set up, we've got students in our classroom, and what we can do now is move to our second step, which is assign the courses. So this is where I decide which courses each classroom is going to have access to. To do that, again, back over to the left, click on courses. Actually, let me back up a step here. So I'm going to go back to my classrooms, click on the classroom. So what I want to point out, though, I made a mistake there, but I will assign those classrooms from within the classroom dashboard. So it's one of those 6 tabs that we talked about. So next to the Students tab, I have the courses. And at this point, this is where I can assign the class. So if it's grayed out, it means it's already been assigned. But anything with a green button, I can go ahead and click on Assign. If I change my mind, I can toggle it back to unassigned. And this is where I give the assignments to the students. Just keep in mind, Coding Adventure Part 1 is assigned by default, so anything else would need to be assigned by you. And if you don't assign it, what will happen is on the student end, they will be blocked from accessing the course. Okay, moving back, staying within the classroom dashboard, I will head over to the Progress tab, AKA probably your new best friend.
Mark, can I jump in?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I want you to show, maybe let's also show them the option to add a CoTeacher from the Students tab.
Absolutely, thank you. All right, so back over in the Students tab here, perhaps you noticed earlier when I was showing the student roster, below the roster, you have the option to add a CoTeacher. And one of the reasons that you may want to look into adding a CoTeacher is because when you have a CodeMonkey subscription, only one teacher can be actually connected to that account. So once you create classrooms, then you're able to add colleagues as co-teachers. So I know in some schools, there are several or multiple teachers that are looking to implement CodeMonkey. But as far as from a school-wide perspective, one person is seen as the admin of that account, and then that person can branch off and invite co-teachers. Now, if you're a co-teacher, what do you have access to? Honestly, basically the same thing as a main teacher. You wouldn't be able to move students around, but as a co-teacher, you can add students to the classroom. You can see their progress. You can also assign courses, as we talked about, and so on. So basically all the other abilities that you would have over the classroom. And then once a co-teacher is added to a classroom, that classroom will show up in the CodeMonkey or the co-teacher's CodeMonkey account. All right, so now what I'll do now is we'll head over to back over to the progress tab. Thank you, Talia, by the way.
Sure.
Okay, so in this progress tab, which I described as your best friend, this is kind of be like your main page that you focus on. I'm going to start over on the left side, and I see my student list. Then going across the top horizontally, I have these green numbers. And what these green numbers represent are the numbers of the challenges. For the purposes of today, you see that we are in Coding Adventure Part 1. But you can also move between the courses using this drop-down menu down here. So you can just navigate between any of the courses that you have assigned. Now, underneath the numbers and next to the students, you see stars here. And the stars are basically our grading system. And the way this works is that first star, which is the pink star, that's going to be given if the challenge was completed. So it's a bare minimum. You completed the challenge, you grab the banana, pink star. That second star is going to be given, so the second star would be the blue stars. The second star is going to be given if the user applied the specific coding concept that was specific to that challenge. So we were working on loops, and you use the loop to solve the challenge. That's how you get the second star. And to achieve that third star, you do those other things, but you also write code that is short and to the point. Perhaps you noticed here in our list of challenges that some of them are highlighted in yellow with this sort of yellow circle. And these represent our assessment challenges. So these are going to be the challenges that are in contrast to our story mode challenges, which have pre-built code. These have no pre-built code whatsoever. So students are going to need to basically start from scratch using what they learned from the regular challenges, or what we call the story mode challenges. Now, as a teacher, if you need access to the solutions to the challenges, and this goes for any course that we offer, what you would do is just click on the green number. So in this case, if I click on number 8, I'm given a solution to that challenge. So it's kind of your cheat sheet there. I also want to point out regarding the stars and the scoring that if you see that within a classroom that a lot of students are getting a pink star on one of the challenges, that may be a way to sort of go back and see what needs to be reinforced. So just keep an eye on that. I also want to point out up here, we have what's called super hints. And so this is a button where you can basically turn on and off super hints. And we'll get into that in just a little bit, but I just want to point out that that is a feature that is available as well. Okay, so in this next section, we want to sort of get into what are going to be the probably two most prominent approaches to remote learning and how to incorporate CodeMonkey into remote learning. And that's going to be self-paced versus a structured way of administering the lessons. So we know that teachers are out there using these different methods to communicate and teach these students. And again, it's a very hectic time, so there is no one right way. And from our experience and conversations and communications with teachers over the years, we know that people are making it work either way. But what I do want to do is to sort of show you how you make the most of each approach. So we'll start with the self-paced approach. So this is going to be for those of you that are going to just let your students independently just progress within a course. Or maybe some of you are like, hey, I'm going to let my students choose which course they like to play. So here's just a few things that I want to make sure that you're familiar with before you set them along on their own way. Just again, make sure that you assign those courses. So I showed you that. That's done from the classroom dashboard. Just because if you don't assign the courses and the kids are self-paced, what they'll do is they'll hit a wall and they won't be able to move on until you assign the course itself. In addition to assigning the courses, again, I pointed out those super hints. And just to give you a little insight about these super hints, these are also, I said the dashboard might be your best friend, progress tab, but this also might be your best friend considering you're not in the classroom with the students. So you think of super hints as extra guidance for the students. It's going to enable them to progress independently as they go through the coding adventure challenges. Now, the super hints can either be like a helpful tip, or in some cases, the actual solution to the challenge. Super hints are going to appear after a student attempts to solve a challenge a few times, or after a certain amount of time has passed since they started the challenge. And what will happen is a light bulb will appear next to Gordo, which is going to be in the lower left-hand corner. And by clicking on that, the student will be able to view the super hint. Now, as a teacher, again, you can decide whether to turn these hints on or off per classroom, and this is done from the Progress tab. However, it is turned on by default. Now, what do you do if you got the super hints, but they're still stuck? They're still getting stuck. What are some of the other ways that you can approach this? And what we would suggest is one thing you can do is have them review the previous challenges. And then what you want to do is emphasize to them to read those instructions, either from that challenge that they're stuck on or from those previous challenges. And again, they can always go backwards and look at their previous solutions. And the way the courses are designed, it's sort of a scaffolded way of learning. So if I'm stuck on 21, the best way to help is maybe going back to 20 or 19 or 18. You can also get the parents involved. And I think this is where we talked about that letter. This is maybe where you make sure that the parents are aware that it's okay to help them, because in a normal environment, you would be there helping them, or their classmates would be there helping them as well. And then, of course, if you're getting them in a sort of, if you're not being inundated with requests for help, don't forget, as a teacher, you do have those solutions available to you from the Progress tab. Okay, so there might be a group of you who are actually meeting online regularly with your students, and or you're giving them assignments. So what you could do is you could actually use the structured lessons or the structured lesson approach with CodeMonkey. And then I'm going to, again, go through some of the tools that you can do with that. Once again, we're starting with make sure you assign the courses. But in addition to that, there's a couple other options that you would have when you want to sort of control the pacing of your classroom. So one of those is this limit progress button. So within each course, you can control your students' progress by limiting it to the pace that you prefer. And again, I can do this by course, and I can also do this by class. So I could take that first period class and say, okay, guys, let's just do 20 challenges per day. Okay, so I type in 20, I click on save, and that's going to limit the students until I change that number, or if I turn this off. So I can change the number, or I could return it to free play if that's what I decided to do. And then in addition to using the limit progress button, we also have lessons. So perhaps you notice one of our tabs, it's actually the next tab, is lessons. We'll go ahead and leave. So this is what our lessons page looks like. And you'll see that this is going to be a great feature that you can use in the classroom when you're using our lesson plans for Coding Adventure. So if you're actually facing your students for an online lesson, I would definitely check out this feature. And there's also a great tutorial that you can find on how to use it. All right, and I want to quickly mention another tab that's here in our classroom dashboard, and that's our gradebook. So you'll see here that those stars from our gradebook are going to be converted into values. And I can change the values here in the settings. So currently I'm showing 8s and 9s, perhaps some 10s, but I can turn those numbers into letters. And I can turn those into percentages if I need to. Moving back over to the left side menu, I do want to point out some really helpful teacher resources. So this will be found. Yep.
Hi again. We received a request to show again what we call the teacher's cheat sheet, access to the solutions. Can you show that again?
Absolutely. So going back to my classrooms, and I'll choose the class. In this case, I only have one. Okay, so here in the Progress tab, again, for the solutions, I can click on any of these numbers, and this is true of any of our courses. So again, I'm only showing you Coding Adventure Part 1, but any course that you assign, and so for example, if I click on Challenge 7 in Coding Adventure Part 1, this will give me a possible 3-star solution for that challenge.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Okay. All right, so we were beginning to talk about those teacher resources. And this is something that you will probably find yourself leaning on a lot as you sort of get into the basics and the beginning of CodeMonkey. So you have access to our Teaching with Coding Adventure course here. And this course is going to provide you with practical training, useful explanations, and just some general tips relating to Part 1 of Coding Adventure. The course itself is about 75 minutes long, but a lot of teachers have given us feedback that this has been a real huge help for them. Also on this same page, you'll see that I wasn't making it up. There are lesson plans available for each and every course that we have. Lesson plans galore. So you're not in this alone. Also, you'll find on this page, on our teacher resources page, some how-to guides. So you're looking at the top here, we have a beginner's guide to CodeMonkey. There's a video guide. My favorite, the video tutorials. I like to see it more than I like to read it. And you see our library. And by the way, this library is forever expanding, so always be on the lookout for more. And then our last tab over here are these classroom resources. And here's where you can find certificates that can be shared, posters, there's other fun materials you can share with your students, coloring pages for maybe some of the younger users as well. And then lastly, I will point out, in addition to these resources, you can always head over to our Help Center. That can be accessed from the bottom left side of the menu here. I'll give you a brief look at that real quick. So, and we're always adding more help articles that you can search for yourself, or if you find that your answer or your question has not been answered through any of these articles here, you can always just contact our support. All right, so just to kind of go back and take a look at the ground that we've covered, or hopefully covered it well. We talked about what CodeMonkey was and how it's sort of a resource for K through 8. Shows you the teacher's homepage, how to create a classroom and then add students, add co-teachers to that classroom. We also talked about upgrading an existing or upgrading another classroom into this remote learning subscription to make sure that the students have all the access to all the courses. We showed you the progress page where you can not only follow their progress, but you can access the solutions for yourself. You can also access the solutions that the students have submitted. We talked a little bit about self-paced versus structured, and then which tools you would use, which buttons you would click to sort of make the most of whichever approach you decided. And then we showed you the teacher resources page, which is where you'll find a lot of things that we did not cover here today, or even some of the things that we did cover. A lot of resources there that can sort of guide you through this. So with all those being done, we will now open it up to your questions as promised. Oh, I also should point out, tomorrow, we will also have webinars available. Tomorrow will be more teacher, I'm sorry, let me back up there. Tomorrow will be more geared toward the courses themselves, and you'll get into which courses apply to which age groups. And we'll talk more about sort of teaching the courses themselves. All right, now we'll back up to the Q&A session. So if there are any questions in the chat, we'll take a look at those.
Mark, can you see the question from Basila in the Q&A box?
I'm just pulling it up there. Okay, so the question is, please tell us about adding bulk students from the spreadsheet. Okay, that's a great question. I can actually go back. So this was option 2 when it came to adding students. Okay, so again, I start with that add students button. And then we have the bulk upload. Now with the bulk upload, you basically need a 2-column CSV file. In column 1, you're gonna have student display names. You'll see some of the rules and conventions that we require there here on this screen. And then column 2 is gonna have the passwords. So there's no headings or titles. I'm just going to use column A will be student names or student display names. And then column B will be our passwords. And then you could also download our example file. But once you do that, you can upload the file. So I have, let's say, 30 students. I have 30 usernames and 30 passwords. I click upload. And then again, to protect student privacy, as it says here, usually we recommend that you do not use their actual names. So for example, nickname or first name dot last initial. Okay, can you review again? We have another question from Aaron. Can you review again how students access their account? Can I provide them with their own unique code, or is it a class code? Okay, it's a great question. So let me get back. Again, it would be, just to answer the second part of that, it is a class code. So students are going to use the class code that's generated. Here, let's show you. Okay, so if I go back here, so the class code can actually be found in a couple of ways, and I just re-taught myself that. So here under the My Classrooms dashboard, I see here under Actions that I have a class code of 2F7HE. But perhaps you also notice that from within the Classroom dashboard, so this is specific to Classroom 1. Under the Students tab, there's also the classroom code is there as well. Now again, if I'm a student who does not have a CodeMonkey account, what I would do, and let me head back over there. All right, so let's just go sign up now. Okay, so again, starting from the beginning, I click on student. Do you have a classroom code? Yes, I do. And then what I would do is type in that classroom code that was given to me. So here, I'll just join as another student. And again, this is where the student or the student with the help of their parents could create a username and a password and then sign up for the class. Okay, the other follow-up question to that was, how are their passwords generated? Tali, do you mind stepping in on that one?
Yeah, I think, right. So if you as a teacher decided to create your student with their accounts, and you might want to do that for the younger ones, then you have two options, as Mark showed you. You can just create an individual student account. So that's great if you have just a few. And we also have the bulk upload, which just using a CSV file. And it's quite straightforward. Once you click on that option, you'll see some great detailed instructions on how to do that. But we'll provide in the CSV file student display names and the passwords. And the system will create for you the students' usernames, which they will use to log into CodeMonkey, just because usernames on CodeMonkey are unique. So the system would create them for you. You'll get the list and you'll be able to share it with your students. So once you create their accounts, you'll be the one who will create their passwords. By the way, as you can see from the screen that Mark is showing now, at any point you can come here and just reset the password by clicking on the reset password and just changing it to a different password. But of course, if your students join themselves either by creating their own account or by using let's say their Google account, Clever, ClassLink, so using a single sign-on, then of course that's the way that they will log in. They won't need to put any password, and of course those are passwords that are private. They won't show also for the teacher nor for CodeMonkey. So I hope that explanation helped.
That's a great explanation. Thank you.
Thanks.
Not to speak for Aaron there. Are there any other outstanding questions that you guys?
Yeah, a few of you had some questions, and we said that we'll get back to you after the webinar. So promise that we'll do that. I think we're good.
Okay. Well, with that being said, again, I do want to tell everyone how much we appreciate you taking time out today and trying to bring CodeMonkey to your students. And again, any questions that you feel were not addressed here today, you can always reach out to us at support or using the Help Center articles. That being said, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Stay healthy and stay safe, guys. Talk to you soon. Goodbye.